Hello and welcome to Newsnine's Deccan Vahini. I am Jisha Surya. Elantur, a small village in Kerala, is making national headlines over the murder of two women, which allegedly is a case of human sacrifice. The ghastly crime committed by three persons, including a couple, has shocked Kerala, which is considered as a progressive state. A group of experts have joined us today to discuss how crimes like this happen in our society and the ways to address superstitious practices. My colleague Vishnu Varma is co-hosting this discussion. Our panelists for today's discussion are Dr. Malavika Binny. She's a social critic and assistant professor in history at Kannur University. Advocate KN Anil Kumar is a former president of Kerala Rationalist Association and chairman of Bar Council Kerala. And we also have Dr. Gopalakrishna Sharma, is a Vedic astrologer. Thank you all for joining Newsnine's Deccan Vahini. Let me start with you, Malavika Binny. This is a crime considered as the rarest of rare in nature. But if we check news ads in newspaper or websites, we can find a lot of people who are practicing black magic. There are a lot of superstitious practices existing in society. So what does this crime tell us about our society?
So you have this philosopher called Hannah Arendt, and she talks about the banality of evil, how common people can become extremely brutal and as you rightly mentioned, can do ghastly crimes given a certain kind of circumstances, and human beings are capable of it. You need not become psychopaths to do such brutal acts. In fact, there was a lot of claims when this particular news came out that this must be a psychopathic person. But no, in the case of the Holocaust in Germany, for instance, or in the times of war in Afghanistan, or that which happened during Pol Pot's regime, you see people even practicing the worst kinds of heinous crimes against humanity. And how does this happen? This happens when there is a climate of fear. This happens when there is a situation where people assume that they have a certain kind of impunity against law. So it is a general kind of climate of fear, or this having or this feeling of not being punished for crimes that prompts these kinds of acts. But one also has to look at this extremely gruesome murder using the framework of the spectacularization of death. Now, this is a framework that Foucault uses, and in this framework, he argues that when you look at religion in particular, religion tries to spectacularize death. So in the past, let's say, so I am someone who teaches ancient history. So when you teach Incan history or when you teach ancient Egyptian history, we come across human sacrifice. And the human sacrifice was not only to appease God, but it was always to enforce a certain kind of social order, one which was extremely misogynistic in practice, one which was very patriarchal, but which also reinforced certain kinds of power structures. So anthropologists as well as historians, they point out that we have to be very careful when we use the term superstition, because where do we draw the line between superstition and religion? When does a faith practice, because all of these are faith practices, we do not have any kind of actual empirical proof that any of these work. So all these terms like necromancy or superstition, we do not have any evidence that they work. Similarly, we do not have evidence for any other kinds of supernatural activity as well. So when we call certain practices as superstitions and other practices as religion, then that too becomes a bit problematic. And look at the price that a lot of people like Dhabolkar and Pansare had to pay with their lives for protesting against quote unquote superstition, or fighting for the anti-superstition bill to be passed. And that is also something that we have to talk about. And then again, we are living in a country where caste killings, again based on a belief system, which has no empirical proof at all, but which again is premised on the idea of oppression, and that does not surprise us anymore. Dowry deaths, 6 of which has happened till August in our country, does not surprise us anymore. So it is just the brutality of what happened to the dead bodies. In all these cases, people are being killed for things which are non-logical in nature, whether it is caste or practices of dowry or religion in general. These are all elements which does not have any rationale or logic to it. But then people are, because it's also attached to one's primordial identity, people are ready to kill and die for it. And it is only when such a ghastly act happens that we are shocked. In fact, these deaths are happening on an everyday basis in our country. And if not these deaths, other kinds of injuries, other kinds of malices are acting, and it no longer surprises us. In fact, I am amazed that it took such the lives of 2 innocent women, such a gruesome act for us to even wake up to the fact that, oh, we are a superstitious society. We are a society where we sell calendars based on Panchanga till date, and we go and advertise on mainstream television, on YouTube channels, that we are proud of the fact that our calendars still display rituality. We are people who observe certain kinds of times when it comes to marriages, when it comes to naming ceremonies, when it comes to funeral ceremonies even. And then we think that we are not a superstitious people. And it is just an act which is of the extreme nature that shocks us. Now, just like when we talk of rape culture, that there is a pyramid to it where you have everything, including lurid comments and everyday acts of misogyny leading up to the rape culture. Similarly, it is our everyday acts of superstitions, believing in omens, believing in certain kinds of times, believing in planets influencing us, so on and so forth. All these kinds of minor beliefs actually lead up to this pyramid where we are prompted to do absolutely illogical and irrational things. So I think it's the general climate of our society. It's not just this one act that needs to be focused upon.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Malavika. I just want to pick out one line from what you said, and I think it's a very important line that you said, and I want to ask Dr. Gopalakrishna Sharma the same with that sentence. And that is, you spoke about the thin line between belief and belief and superstition, right? India is a deeply religious country. We know how religion plays such an important part in many of our lives, majority of people's lives. There are people visiting temples, churches, mosques, monasteries, stupas, for all kinds of things. So we know how religion is important and intrinsic to India's ethos, and it cannot be wished away. So I want to ask Dr. Sharma the same question. How do we draw the line, and where do we draw the line between belief and superstition? How do we not ensure that such incidents happen, like the thing at Elandur, where 2 women, for no fault of their own, they died, they paid with their lives. So how do we, where do we draw the line?
Yeah. First of all, in this panel, we 3 are there. We 3 are strongly have to agree. It's a brutality. Okay, no question about it. It's all happens. History have shown us such kind of killings. It's highly condemned, and it's a brutal murder. But when it comes to belief, or when we speak about science, okay, everywhere, what do you mean by belief? This is a small question. What is belief? I'm sleeping, believing that my wife wouldn't harm me until next day morning. I rise up. I wake up. Okay. So my wife wouldn't harm me. That is my belief. So without the belief system, man cannot exist. Okay. Now here we should think about, where do we draw a line between belief system and a spirituality. Now we are talking about religion, and later on now spiritual progression or whatever. India, when you look at India, it's a 10,000-year-old history, culture, heritage, and whatsoever. Now people have invaded British culture, French, so Portuguese and so many people came into our land, and so total mixture of things happened. Now we are a global culture now. Cultural appropriation is somewhat happening in many places. Coming to this point, where do we stand in terms of killing of people for our own belief system? It is nowhere said, but it is attached to Shastra or some text or religious, so-called sacred books or something. It has been mentioned. That is why we are doing, or people are attaching this to religion, particularly. For that matter, any religion, even if it is Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, or Muslims, or whatever you say. So we have to draw a line based on whether it is actually there or not, first of all. So now we are seeing all the TV shows and commenting on whatever whatever it is being spoken. People know, people are knowing about it. Some people are, they don't know anything about it. So people talk about their own, thought process, experiences based out of their living. I'm talking about based on my experience. She is talking about based on her experiences, right? So when we speak about India's history, especially India and religion, where India has, no God belief system actually. Now it has been driven to God belief system. It is a land where we believe in our karma, and we believe self-realization. When we speak about self-realization, we don't know the path. So we are hanging on something else, like what we call that as a adhyaropam. We attribute something to, some other thing to know the, direction of the thought. For example, now what is India? We can't really, nation is an idea, we can say. Now, if I show you the flag, we start, our mind start thinking towards India. Emotions happens. Patriotism. I stand up, saluting. Everything happens. Now, if I ask you, scientifically, I am burning that Indian flag, for example. I'm burning that Indian flag. And saying in the court that I have scientifically burned a piece of cloth. In real essence, yes, of course, I have burned a piece of cloth. But can you spare me? Will judiciary system spare me? No, because all the emotions have been attributed to a piece of cloth. That is a flag. This is what happens when it comes to spirituality or religion or something where we do have, set up a kind of belief system over a period of time. Eventually, we start realizing, realization starts, self-realization when we speak. Now, when it collaborates with the other culture, when she spoke about the caste, the word caste, the caste is a Portuguese word. It has been, mixed up in our country. There is no caste system. It's a classification. We are bringing new phrases, confusing people over a period of time. So many things happen. Mixture, cultural appropriation again. For example, now this brutal killing. Coming to the point, have these been said in Shastra? No way. But people are practicing it. Now we are trying to attach this to a Shastra. My simple point. This is a brutal killing. This is to be banned. No doubt about it. We should not promote anything, any sort of such activities. But do we really need to, ban the entire religion as such, or spiritual practices as such, or common man's belief system? That is a question. That is a question. We really need to think over it. See, for that matter, when it comes to science and technology invented many things. For example, pistol, rifle. When you take rifle, some madman uses it against, for a wrong purpose. Are we trying to say science? We do not need science and technology? Science will keep on, technology will keep on inventing new things. We must use it for the good purpose.
Right.
We must use it for the good purpose.
Right.
It's not for, somebody using it for negative kind of thing. And, we are saying we don't need science and technology anymore. It's not like that. It is about us with wisdom. We have to choose what is right, what is wrong.
Okay.
In religion, every religion speak about the truth. Every religion promotes the society in a way it should be done. Honesty, so many other things, good karma, good habits, everything comes out of that. There is a huge belief system. We are not supposed to attach this whole brutal killing towards any particular religion and banning the whole, the belief system.
Yeah.
This is what my point.
Okay. So coming to you, Advocate Anil Kumar, please unmute. You're part of Kerala Rationalist Association for the past several years and was in forefront of several campaigns against superstitions. As per Constitution, it's our duty to develop, scientific temper, humanism, etc. So, but still, our society is generally lacks scientific temper. Why do you think so? After all these campaigns and this rationalist movements in Kerala, why do you think that this is happening in Kerala?
Good afternoon to all. We all know that Kerala has 10% literacy. But regarding this superstition, Gopalakrishna Sharma told that the boundary between faith and superstition, it is very narrow. But in Kerala, we had a very cultural revolution here. The caste system, whatever with caste or classification, caste is a reality. We can simplify it by putting the word classification. But whether caste is a Portugal word or Hindu or English word, that classification is very dangerous here, that I am not touching that part. Why? Because Gopalakrishna Sharma, he was talking in a very wide canvas. We cannot find answer to talk on every subjects regarding basic faith, basic religion. I am narrowing the discussion to this superstition and this human sacrifice only. Kerala, we had a very good cultural background, and there are so many developments in the educational as well as cultural field also. But this basic, this superstitious mind, that is there. Why? Why? Because this superstition is very much connected with the basic faith of man or basic faith of people. Why? Because whatever faith it be, either it be Hinduism, Christianity, or Muslim, that faith, all religions support superstition. The source of superstition is based on religion. That religious faith, it is not separable. This religious faith promotes superstition in one way or other way. This regarding the sacrifice, human sacrifice or animal sacrifice. In Ramayana also, whether the Putragameshti is conducting, there is stories of this burning these animals alive, okay, birds alive. In Kerala, that practice was there. In this animal and birds sacrifice was there in very much here. And in 1968, the very famous E.M.S. Namburipat, in his famous act, that Kerala Animals and Birds Sacrifice Prohibition Act 1968 brought so many changes, and thereafter that sacrifice of these birds and animals became an offense, and so many cases were registered, and now it is not conducting anywhere in Kerala. But regarding this, even though this is this is not a general case, this human sacrifice is not general. Actually, in last year, in 2021, February 7th, there was a sacrifice at Palakkad. One lady named Shahida, he killed her own son after midnight, and he informed the police, the Palakkad South Police Station, and he informed that he had killed the child, and the police came and arrested her. And he openly said that he was making a human sacrifice for her God, Allah or whatever it be. It is a solitary incident, and this incident is also solitary. But there are from 1915 onwards, there were 5 or 6 killings regarding as a part of this superstitious treatments. There was there. Thereafter, our organization, Kerala Yuktivadi Sangam, Kerala Rationalist Association, we conducted so many sensitization programs, and we conducted a statewide this vehicle, what is that called, procession from Kasaragod to Trivandrum, and we submitted a draft anti-superstition bill before the then Chief Minister Sri Ummanchandi with the signature of more than 1 lakh people, and we submitted a draft bill also. That bill was in the line of all of you know the Maharashtra anti-superstition bill passed in the year 2013 after the brutal killing of Tabholkar. Actually, this Congress Chief Minister, Mr. Chauhan, he introduced the bill. As first there was an ordinance, thereafter it was an act. And we were forcing the government, and we conducted so many continuing programs for the implementation of this anti-superstition bill in Kerala. The main hindrance for that bill is that to define superstition. I have already told that superstition and basic faith, all the basic faith are connected with the religious faith. So we cannot separate this superstition and this natural these faith activities, whatever it be. We called puja or called so many words are used in Malayalam. But for the purpose of an act, the superstition shall be defined. Then only we can make it an offense. However, it is not very difficult. It is a practical thing. We have got Karnataka superstition, the superstition bill is there. Maharashtra bill is there, and in Assam also there is an anti-superstition law. So defining the anti-superstition is not a difficult thing. But the Kerala government, due to the pressure from these religious people, I think it is not implemented. But there was 3 private bills were brought before this assembly. One was by late Mr. Simon Brito, P.T. Thomas. Thereafter, last year, there was a private bill from K.D. Prasannan. He's an Alathur CPM MLA. K.D. Prasannan had submitted a private bill, moved a private bill. And it was withdrawn after the assurance of the government that the government is considering and the Treasury bench is going to pilot a bill. And actually this Justice K.D. Thomas Commission, the law Reform Commission has actually drafted one bill, and that is in the consideration before the government also. But nothing is coming out. Why? Because we have IPC is there, Kerala Police Act is there, but there is no sufficient provisions to invoke by the police to control or to prevent this superstitious sacrifice act. Only then, if the murder is committed, they will be charging them under the IPC provision 302. That is well and good, but there is no provision in IPC or Kerala Police Act to prevent this type of superstitious act. That is the main problem. However, I am very clear that all these superstition cause for all these superstitious, this human sacrifice is the basic faith of people. That is the faith in God itself. But technically speaking, all the rationalists are defining this, even faith in gold is as a superstition. But for the purpose of an act, we are confining the superstition and we are defining the superstition for making it an offense. That is the scenario. Why? Because, and one more thing, our demand from years is that the scientific temper, as per this fundamental duty of 51 AH, humanism, scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry reform, these should be taught in schools at least from 7th standard, 7th and 8th standard. It shall be made a subject, and the constitution shall be taught, and the scientific temper, humanism, both are very important, and spirit of inquiry. And moreover that, one more thing is that the children shall not study. There shall not be any religious religious teachings up to 18 years, like this, whatever we see, madrasa education or this Vedic education, whatever it be, it shall be taught only after the formal education and only after the students getting majority. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Anil Kumar. We'll definitely talk about the legislation, but I want to ask Malika. We talked about there are a lot of aspects connected to this story. I think that we must explore. One of it is the social media angle, because one of the main accused in this case apparently used a fake Facebook profile to lure, basically cheat people. So there is a issue of use of social media. How do we use social media, and how people, especially elderly people, how do they differentiate between real and unreal? So that's one part of the question. How do we do that? The second part of the question is the role played by mainstream media. As you said, there are mainstream TV channels doing all kinds of shows. There was a recent TV channel talking about aliens and when are aliens coming onto the planet. So it's hilarious the kind of content they do, and the kind of gruesome, because this incident I think has captured so much of public attention also because of the brutality of it, the sheer, the way in which it was done. And obviously the media tend to play over it, try to sensationalize it, try to say this is how they were killed, this is how they were buried. So two aspects to that question: one, the use of social media, and second, how responsible. Obviously we need to be more responsible as media organizations to report on such stories.
Okay, to answer the first part of the question, I do think that if it was not social media, there would have been some other mechanism through which people would have gotten influenced by Bhagwal Singh or whatever you want to call him, or characters like him. Because even in the past, we have had instances before the influx of social media and all the furore surrounding it, and us having more than one kind of social networks on our phones. Even before that, if you look at cults in particular, they have had a huge fan following. And then if you look at our history from, let's say, around 2000s onwards, you can see that they are on a rise. And this steep mushrooming up of cults through, not just in Kerala, no, I'm not very surprised that this happened in Kerala. We try to fool ourselves thinking that we are a very erudite set of people. We think that we Keralites have the best literacy standards, uh, but we also have one of the highest suicide rates. So it is a state where we also have some of the highest liquor consumption rates in the country as well. All of this point to the fact that there is this deep dissonance that people in the state, or by extension in India, feel. And this is, of course, because wherever you have a mild depression happening and the government being in denial of that depression, and people seeing wealth on the one hand, because you have hundreds of visuals being forced on us every day, which shows luxury and opulence. And at the same time, you are also prompted to respond to that by posting pictures of yourself quote unquote enjoying life. So on the one hand, there is this overexposure that one has to a certain kind of a lifestyle which is unacquirable for the common man. And this kind of works like the proverbial carrot that is always dangled in front of the donkey. You're always trying to get that. And there is, and when society, or when the economy does not provide you with any kind of a legitimate way to actually acquire that, you will look for shortcuts. And this was one of those shortcuts, be it the case of those innocent women who were trying to better their lives, or the case of the people who indulged in this gruesome act. In both the cases, what you see is a certain kind of greed being manifest. I am truly sorry if this came out as me trying to point a finger at the victims, but one also has to take into a factor that there's a certain kind of unachievability of high standard of living in the present times. And at the same time, there's a constant push that one feels when one is part of a social media network to move towards that. So because of this kind of a disconnect that one has, one constantly looks for easy ways to gain money and wealth and social status. So, on the one hand, social media just aggravates or accelerates a certain kind of cult following, or a certain kind of greed that has become part and parcel of our living now. On the other hand, ethical journalism is something that journalists have to choose for themselves, what to be published, what not to be published, and to what extent is our media houses committed to society. As a historian, what I can say is uh, that media always have had this huge role to play, and because it influences public conscious to a great level, from the emergence of the public sphere in the 17th century onwards, from the emergence of print media to where we are now. The media has extremely has played a very important role in molding public collective conscious. So when there is a certain kind of acceptability given to, let's say, jadoo kajins, or supernatural creatures being shown on television every day, from and who are the ones who are exposed to this, from little kids all the way to elderly people, all of them are seeing this, and we are being bombarded with this visuals every day, not just in terms of serials, but even if we look at our movies today, what you see is that there is a general uh, acceptance that the supernatural has gained. For me, it is also amusing that we are sort of walking back towards the Bronze Ages, because we kind of transitioned from this system of belief in the supernatural during the post-Renaissance time, to that of looking more towards science and looking more towards research. During the period of Renaissance and Enlightenment, which happened as early as the 15th, 16th century onwards. But now what we see is that we are sort of moving back towards the Dark Ages.
Dr. Sharma, we've talked about different aspects of this case as well as the kind of implications it has on the modern world. If you are a Vedic astrologer, right? If we talk about the role of astrology in the modern world, right? In Europe, we can see that a lot of people these days, over the last few years, we can see a lot of people are leaving behind religion. They're choosing to be agnostic or choosing not to have a faith. And in India also, a lot of people today, they don't when they admit their kids to school, they don't provide a religion, they don't provide a caste, all of which could be seen as positive or negative in any way. I want you to answer, what is the role of astrology in the modern world? And how does it, obviously a lot of people believe in astrology, a lot of people go to astrologers because they think they can make a significant change in their lives, and I don't doubt that. But what role does astrology play in the modern world, and how do we make it positive in a person's life, for any person's life? With the help of astrology, how can we make his or her life better?
We have to draw a line between positive and negative. Of course, we are all doing that. Everybody, everybody is trying to pick up good things and leave bad things based on their own experiences, right? I pick up certain good habits based on my experiences, and I stick to it. Somebody else, try to pick up some other good habit. For me, that could be bad. Okay. End result, it should be human. No harm should happen to the society. No harm should happen to environment or anything for that matter. Now, education has to come within. Knowledge has to come in within. We have to do education or whatever. Having said that, are we trying to demolish all the religious practices by demolishing temples, churches, mosques, etc.? Are we talking about sense? Are we talking sense? No way. It is about aligning ourselves, bringing some good education in the society to understand where are we now. So what is positive, what is negative, without which we can't really move ahead. That is my point. Now coming to astrology, the fundamental principle of astrology. Sorry, let me reiterate one more point here before we move into astrology, because that is required. A group of people discussing a common topic. Okay, now a history professor is there, some rational advocate sir is there. I am from a different background. We are all discussing a common topic. So we have to think, right? So we are sitting across the table for discussing a common topic. He wouldn't agree with my point. I wouldn't agree with his point based on the perception. Lokyate anubhuyate lokaha. Whatever the perception you have, that is your world. My perception is my world, right? But both the perception should not harm the society, should not harm the environment, should not harm the country or whatsoever. We understand? Okay. Now coming to astrology. Today, through YouTube and so many other videos or whatever, information system, science and technology, people have started, talking about the Shastram, where we don't need a basic, understanding, root level understanding of some topic to shoot a video and publish it in YouTube. So, we are, burning some illogical thoughts somewhere in down south side or north side or somewhere. We are burning some illogical thoughts through our ignorance. First, let us understand what is astrology. Astrology is something about, it's karma. People do not know because we are always talking about planets. My question is, my question here is, now, if we go to doctor will always tell you, after looking at the thermometer, it's a fever, right? He will not tell you hyperpyrexia. Hyperpyrexia means it is a medical terminology for high fever, right? If we hear that hyperpyrexia, we can't really connect. A common man cannot connect with that, right? So in Shastram, there are so many other words where people are unable to connect. So we should not speak about that and instigate fear in people to drain money out of them. That is a heinous crime or whatever. Now this astrology has a very root level understanding. Where does it comes from? It has got two segments. People do not know about it. Overall, we are looking at through some different perception. First perception is planets are causing something to us. No way. Malavika madam just mentioned planets are causing something to us. People are believing. It's a wrong belief. Okay. The horoscope means, and when we speak about astrology, horoscope means our karma, our action, free will, which most people do not know. Are we blamed for that? Your ignorance, some people's ignorance, are we blamed? Are the Shastras being blamed? Karma is the fundamental. Action causes result. This is the fundamental philosophy, Indian philosophy, which drives people all through history. As you sow, so shall you reap. Nothing else. Now, Veda speaks the karma and karma phala. Astrology as a limb of Veda cannot go against that. For example, your company, your media company managing director releases a rules and regulation or something. Your CEO or general manager cannot go against that. So fundamentally, we should understand astrology or something where horoscope. When we speak about horoscope, it has got two parts. Common man for us, common man to understand. Horoscope means nothing but our karma. Action causes result, nothing else. But most of the people do not know about it. So we are blaming, just like doctors for failure of surgery. Do we blame doctors? Are we blaming medical science? No way. We are not trying to explore right thing. Right.
Malavika, can we have the concluding remarks from your side? Now, the government is planning to introduce some legislation, but is that enough? Because when it comes to law enforcing, there might be unnecessary political influence. So what will be the step that is needed to bring a true change in the society?
This idea that we had a very monolithic past based on only one kind of culture, that again has been contested so many times by historians and by social scientists so many times that I do not have to repeat it here. I would ask you to look up D.N. Jha's work or Romila Thapa's work. Please do look at them, and therein you will also find these references to sacrifices which were actually uh, redistributive occasions for a cattle rearing community. So what relevance does it have today when we have moved to a capitalistic world? I am not so sure. To get back to your question, which was on whether the anti-superstition bill is enough, of course, it's simply not enough. We have to really get to the grassroots of the problem, which is the fact that we have this huge disconnect between where we have arrived at in terms of our economy, in terms of human perceptions about science, our educational levels, and between our belief system, which continues to be plagued by a set of ideals which are set in, let's say, which was set in the 6th century at best. So, and if you look at religion in general, what you see is that religion never remains static. It's extremely fluid, and it has moved with time. Whether it is Hinduism or Islam or Jainism or whichever religion you take, it reforms itself, it reinvents itself. New traditions are added, old traditions are trimmed away, and that's how religions continue to play a very significant role. Unfortunately, when it comes to pseudoscience or certain kinds of practices such as necromancy, they have remained more or less static, playing upon the basis or playing, I would rather even use the word predating uh, upon the most primordial of wishes of people to gain wealth, to cause harm to others, all of these ideals, while they have deep attachments to the larger faith systems, are also beliefs that can be divorced and done away with. And one does not require the whole dismantling of religion for that. But of course, when you have certain aspects which are absolutely not just unscientific and irrational, but one which or a set of beliefs which cause harm to others. As long as it doesn't cause harm to other people, as long as it does not lead you towards a path of over glorification of the past, or lead you down a path where you're desiring for things which cannot be achieved through sheer human effort, and that's in those practices, that's when we go wrong. At least those practices have to be questioned, but not just through the law. But we do have a law against dowry. We do have several laws against untouchability. Unfortunately, we still have caste deniers, like our friend here. We have caste honor killings even in a state like Kerala. The number of caste killings in caste-based honor killings in India is 17 by the time we have reached August 2022. Until date, we have cast unbelievers, and we are speaking on the basis of statistics and science here. So, this kind of rhetoric where we are trying to conflate pseudoscience with science, nationalism with a particular set of beliefs, that is something that we have to distance ourselves from. But when it comes to the superstition bill, both civil society, media, as well as the government will have to campaign against superstitions, will have to as another panelist just spoke about, will have to incorporate the ideals of rationalism into our everyday life as well as education, so that we move towards a more enlightened space. Otherwise, it will be a futile effort.
Right, right. Okay. Thanks, Malavika. We are completely running out of time, which is why we have to end the session right now. But I want to thank all our panelists, Dr. Sharma, Advocate Venugopal, Malvika ji, all of you, thank you so much for joining News9 on this very important discussion. Obviously, the grotesqueness of this incident that has happened in Pathanamthitta in Kerala is obviously a stinging reminder to all of us that we cannot have such brutal incidents repeating in Kerala. And it is also, in a way, it is also maybe it is counterproductive because a bill that is a law that is was has been in cold storage in the Kerala Assembly, which is supposed to ban superstition, which is supposed to ban all these kind of blind beliefs, might now be revived after this case. Now, political parties might just get together on the floor of the House to talk about the bill, deliberate about the bill, and hopefully pass that bill, which would obviously set a very good precedent. And I hope we all hope that happens. I think that is the most highlight of this of the background of this case. Thank you all the panelists for joining us on News9, and we hope to have you in future as well on upcoming discussions. Thank you so much.